to feel
the power.
That's Colin, Crandall over there. Myself, Adam Roorda here. Today's episode is brought to you by Lytle Token and Nessa's Hemp, as well as Cross-Train MMA Fighter. Go on over to crosstrainmmafighter.com. Get yourself an amazing t-shirt. I've got one right now. Some of the best fitting apparel to work out in, and to let everybody know that you're a cross-trained fighter or fan of fighting in general, combat sports, not on the streets, but in the ring or the cage.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
And with Lytle Token, make sure to hit them up, check them out. Their name's going to be all over the place with the Triller event coming up here. It is lytletoken.io. Just check them out. And I'm actually involved actively with that, so I'm going to throw out that disclaimer, but they are a partner of the show, so very proud to have them involved. And then also Nessa's Hemp. For those of you who have been tuning in for a while, you know all about it. Those of you who haven't, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that this is the best CBDA product on the market. It is a cold press product. It is full spectrum hemp oil that you can go ahead and purchase. Go to nessashemp.com, and if you want a big discount, go to mmaph.nessashemp.com.
Absolutely. Really good stuff, you know. And Nessa knows what she's doing and cares about quality, and we appreciate that.
Always. And we've got quite a few guests jumping in here, I see, and I don't have my chat pulled up, so I'm not seeing their talk, but I'm sure there's some people talking right now. So
people are talking, man. That's what they say.
Well, hopefully it's good.
Yes.
Hopefully it's good chat right now. Let me pull it up. I'm going to pull that up.
Yeah.
It just takes me a second.
You know, and for anyone that wants to just chime in with some stupid, obscene remark, my advice is just save it, man. You know, go and take your medicine and go back to bed, please.
I'm looking for some fun.
Yeah, you like to hear those remarks. I mean, some of them, it's almost like you just But hey, you know, God bless America. We do, at least for the time being, still have some rights left, although they're being squeezed and squelched as the months go by. But nevertheless, yeah, you can say what you want to say, and you know, we're open to constructive criticism.
We'll try to love you still.
Exactly.
We'll try. We're not going to promise. Is basically what Colin is saying.
Exactly. Just if you want to say something obscene, have it related to MMA fighting. You know, find some correlation and then put in the...
Speaking of correlation, and you know what? With Lytle Token being over here at the Triller event coming up this weekend, we've got Vitor Belfort facing Evander Holyfield. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I was just like, Oscar's got COVID. Oh,
yeah.
What's going to happen next? And then... did you see the day before the article? It was like 1 or 2 days before about Holyfield filing litigation against Triller.
I don't know, but I feel like saying it's gonna be a Triller. Anyway, I had to throw that in. They should start using Michael Jackson's throw. Anyway, well, I hadn't heard about that. I knew that for a brief time you were going to be the one fighting Vitor.
That's what I heard.
That's what I was thinking was going to happen, and then the weight was going to be tough. It was going to see harder what weight.
This isn't true, by the way, folks. Colin's pulling a bunch of stuff out of his
I'm
rear.
pulling something that I am. I like to do that. But then we did get Evander Holyfield, who saved Adam from possibly one of his rare losses in combat sports against Vitor Belfort. But I think I like it. I think Evander Holyfield is great. I think he is one of the greatest heavyweight champions of my generation.
This is a sanctioned full fight.
My generation. This is a sanctioned fight. The odds are close. I know that Vitor Lytle Token Belfort is someone that you like, or is his middle name Lytle Token officially? Or
I mean, it is for this fight.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So I know that you know, there's some hope that he wins, and it's conceivable, but. If you really look at the opponent change, yes, Oscar is 9 years younger than Evander Holyfield, but way smaller. And I think that Oscar was going to be a challenging fight for Vitor. I think now switching it to Evander Holyfield, I mean, the only question I think is Evander so slow and are his joints so damaged that he gets in there and looks like he's walking in quicksand. If that's the case, then of course Vitor, looking as strong as he does now, beats him. But otherwise, I'd say Evander Holyfield should be the favorite in that fight.
Well, yeah, I would say I would consider him to be the favorite, but I'm going to throw out there too, looking at Holyfield, looks like he's in the best shape of his life.
He does look really good. And I'm not going to say his abs look like when he was 25 years old or anything, because your skin is not as tight when you're almost 60. But other than that, he looks great.
Yeah, skin tightness isn't really a factor, but
right.
you look at how in shape he is for his age, and if you really do the math on how hard he has to work to do that, this is the best shape of his life.
It's really true, and he has a lot of pride. I mean, Evander Holyfield was just a tremendous warrior, and I still remember when he beat Mike Tyson in that first fight, not the ear-biting fight, but the one before that, when the commentator said, I think it may have been Jim Lampley, I don't know, that a legend is born in the purple trunks, and that incredible warrior, Evander Holyfield, and so he fights with a lot of pride. And I know that a lot of people look back and say his last few sanctioned fights 11 years ago when he was 47 years old and 46 weren't that great, but I think they were against at least top 20 heavyweights. And I think that Belfort couldn't be considered a top 20 heavyweight boxer by any stretch of the imagination. And so, but he's quick, he's strong. It's going to be interesting. Now the question I have is there going to be a no knockout clause like there was between Roy Jones and Mike Tyson? Probably not, because that was an exhibition.
No, there isn't. This is a judged normal.
You're right. That was an exhibition. That was not only an exhibition, but it had conditions.
This is a judged 8-round
fight
bout that is fully sanctioned. And listen, it's going to be interesting. Somebody at 58 years old that's a heavyweight going up against another boxer that's actually not a boxer, I wouldn't say, an MMA fighter historically.
And a cruiserweight as far as boxers are considered.
And a cruiserweight as far as boxers considered. He's moving up a weight class from where he was going to face Oscar.
Yep.
I mean, this is crazy. I feel like it's sanctioned because of that weight difference, but...
You mean because it's close? It's close on the weight. You're right. It's going to be close enough because I wouldn't be so. Do you know? Is it unlimited now, or is there a maximum weight? I think it's heavyweight.
Well, it is heavyweight.
But that means heavyweight in boxing, I think, is unlimited. So that means there is no weight limit here. So I was speculating on this, Adam.
Yeah, but where I'm bringing this up is Vitor had to cut down. He was already
He was going to be cutting to make 190. I agree. So I have a feeling Vitor will probably come in at like 210 or 215, and Holyfield maybe a little bit bigger. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, actually.
But not a lot bigger. Maybe 10, 15 pounds heavier.
Yeah, maybe 10 or 15 pounds heavier. And I don't know if this really gives Vitor the advantage or not on a week's notice. Putting that much weight on also takes toll just as much as taking that weight off.
Yeah, although I think, you know what? I think when he found out about it, which would have given him
3 days ago. That's not very long.
Well, but yeah, 3 days ago, but that still means like it was like an 8-day notice. He was probably not too deep into his weight cut, and all he had to do was stop right there. So I believe that that's partially why Vitor took this fight, because he probably, I'm guessing he might be walking around at like 210 or something, and there's not really as much restriction on substances this time as a lot of people have been pointing out. But I think that, so I think that if Vitor is like walking around 210, maybe 215, he may have cut down to nearly 200, but with 8 days notice, he just goes back to eating normally, and he's back to 210, 215. So I have a feeling he's fine with that, with the amount of notice he had, and he'll probably walk in a healthy 210 or 215, and Holyfield probably a 230, 235, or something like that.
Well, we had an interview with Vitor last week, and he was just ramped up and excited. Man, yeah. I actually have been on phone calls this week because I am tied in via Lytle token. Yeah, I can tell you the heartbreak when we found out that Oscar got COVID. Yep, it was just.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean,
and he was fully vaccinated too.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunately caught COVID, but just being kind of in the camp. I've got to say, as a journalist, I'm not. I know how to fully step back, but understanding that Lytle token and what we're doing over there is also involved with Vitor, we were just like we're at a loss of words.
Yeah,
and it was just crazy. So the from the inside and knowing what was happening with the camp, I can tell you, it was not an easy decision for them to just jump in and say, Evander, yes, let's do it.
Right.
I can tell you, Vitor was wanting to take it right away.
Yeah, he wanted to fight. He's willing. He's a tough guy. He's willing to fight. And is there any truth that he's putting 1 million Lith tokens on himself to win that fight, or is that just speculation?
I mean, listen, if he puts 1 million Lith tokens on the line, that's fine. He's already got a bunch of Lith token.
That's cool.
And, if he can afford to do it, that's on him.
That's right.
That's all I'm going to say.
That is true, but there's no evidence on that. It's just kind of speculation.
That's Colin speculating 100%.
That's what I'm thinking he might be doing.
Trying his dad humor.
Man, I'll tell you what.
I came in.
That's it. That is some of my pet dad humor. I love it. You got to shake it up, man. But that's what, I think he's training on peanut butter and hemp sandwiches provided by Nessa, isn't he? Or is that?
Oh well,
right?
I heard that may be happening, but I don't know. He wouldn't.
In there.
He wouldn't say.
He won't divulge what his training is, but he does look really good there. I will say this.
From what he says, he's completely clean and doesn't use any of that stuff.
That is it.
Doesn't even worry about supplements. Is just worried about making sure he has the right nutrition.
That's it. Well,
the interview last week brought that up.
That is amazing. That then if that's the case, then probably Ronnie Coleman was completely clean when he was winning those Mr. Olympia. I shouldn't compare the two. Forget that. Anyway, no, I'm sure Vitor is great.
Look at him. He has healthy skin.
Yes, he does.
That tells you, actually. That tells you. He may have been using TRT before anybody else really thought of making it a banned substance. But at this point, he doesn't have the issues that come along with any of that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you never know. He could be. He's just done it. He's focused, got himself back in shape. And not only that, but I think maybe now that he can fight at heavyweight, it makes sense he'd look better. His last several fights were at 185 in the UFC, and he didn't look too good there. But I think it's just because he just was very depleted. But yeah, he's a badass. He's a tough fighter. He's going to have to use some speed and movement, and it's going to be an interesting fight. I mean, I think,
it better be interesting. I mean, Evander wanting to sue Triller because he wanted to fight that bad, literally. I have a feeling there's a little something there to do with that. I don't know. Yeah. That's speculation.
Yeah. What would you think about the winners of the main and the co-main fighting each other? Because the co-main has Tito Ortiz against Anderson Silva.
No, I think that's an excellent matchup, actually.
That would be amazing.
It's probably in the plans.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling it is.
I'd love to see it. Don't you guys forget, if you haven't heard, if you don't know, now you know, you got to look on the Hannibal TV to see reaction to this great card, at least the co-main and the main, on Saturday. The reaction video will be myself and the fighting legend David Tank Abbott. Nice. And we're going to be doing our reaction.
Well, you guys better react if you see me on camera, because it sounds like I may be down there.
We will, man. Yep. Yeah. Where is that going to be, by the way?
It's in Hollywood. Yeah, Florida.
Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood, Florida, and Hollywood, California are pretty similar, aren't they? No, they're not, are they? I was going to say, I don't know why I thought of that.
They're both touristy.
They are. Listen, we're actually already into our first guest segment. So.
Well, the good thing is,
let's get
two guests tonight.
There we go.
There we go.
At least.
Well, he's not online yet.
He's not.
He's got to be online for that.
Let me let him know.
2021 changed from 2 years ago when that didn't matter.
All right. We're ready to call you on Skype, but my producer says it looks like you're not online. Are you around? Question mark.
We'll go into the Skype dance in a moment.
Yep, he'll probably.
Everybody, make sure to go on over to our social media. It's at MMA Power Hour. You see it going across the screen, and Colin's missing it with his finger. But
now I got it.
His hand-eye coordination is a little
with camera,
off today.
The camera hand-eye coordination is a problem. But if I go like this, I can see left.
How many
right
beers did you have before you came in?
Only 3 this time.
3 minutes before the show, what you guys didn't see, he was shotgunning 3 beers.
I tell you.
No, we're just having fun.
Oh, he's waiting on Skype, he says.
Oh, he is?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we'll give you a shot. I appreciate it, period.
Let's give him a whirl.
Skype dance, baby.
He is.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. All we need for you to do is hit that video, and my producer says you did. So let me give you a proper intro as we are live on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have this next guest on the show. He's been on before, and we're always happy to have him. People are always happy to learn from this man and hear what he has to say. We're talking about a man, 6-time Fight of the Night winner in the UFC, former contender at the welterweight division, bare knuckles fighter, and now one of the best commentators in the world of bare knuckles fighting over the BKFC, the man they call Lights Out, Chris Lytle. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Hey, thank you. That's a great intro.
You're very welcome. It's all true, 100% true. You merit it and you deserve it. And I'm really excited to have you on to talk about the world of fighting in general, but some of these interesting fights that are coming on and that have come on in the past. So let's go in reverse for a second. So Tyron Woodley fought against Jake Paul last week or a week or so ago. What was your expectation going into that fight, and how did what you saw end up being the same or different to what you expected, and explain what you felt you saw that fight?
I think a lot of guys who've been around the fight world for a long time were like myself, and I don't know if it's expecting or hoping that, the younger Tyron Woodley would come out, the guy who's been around for a while, who did a lot of fantastic things. Obviously, a fantastic athlete, great striker.
Yeah.
But I feel like what I saw was the Tyron Woodley from the last few years. Think about it. When was the last time? And this happens to a lot of fighters once they get doing it for a while. The main thing is they just feel like they can't pull the trigger.
Right.
And that's what Woodley felt like to me. He was in there. He was in position. He's fast, he's quick, athletic, but he never really pulled the trigger very much. And when he did, I think he did well, but he wasn't active enough, and he just. But his last 3 years of fighting, it's been 100% the exact same thing. He just looks not bewildered is the right word, but he just looks like he can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I saw here. Like, he could have won that fight easy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say easy. Say we will, Jake Logan Paul, they're real tough. They're big, athletic, strong guys who had a wrestling background. They're big, tough guys, man. Not trying to take that away from them, but I think Woodley could have, if that fight's 5 years ago, Woodley knocks him out.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I've been actually saying something similar to that the whole time. It's just if it was back when Woodley had confidence in his chin, back when Woodley had a little bit quicker reflexes, and was just overall generally, in a much better place, he would have won for sure. Now, it's interesting because he did look strong. This was a fight that was at 190, and the man probably walks around at that, and to have to make 170 for the last few years was very hard for him, right? And so his body looked great. He looked super strong. Apparently the reach was almost identical, although there was definitely a 3 inch or more actually height difference. But can I ask you, do you think that one of the things that also may have made Tyron tentative is just not wanting to get caught and embarrassed by this guy? Because before you answer, it seemed to me almost like that was part of the reason he kind of was moving the way he was moving. It's almost like he was saying, I'm going to try to beat this guy, but I've got to just make sure I don't get caught and embarrassed and slept by this guy. What do you think?
100%. You guarantee that's part of it, because in the back of his head, that's the last thing he could deal with. Getting caught and getting knocked out by this guy was not an option. But that being said, I still feel like it's more of a function of that's what's going on with Woodley now. I've seen this many times. Look at all the older guys, especially in boxing, when they were a great fighter and they were this and that, and then all of a sudden they get to a point, and it's not even out of age or mileage, where they cannot pull the trigger. Like, they just don't throw.
Right.
They'll get in the position and they'll be right there and they'll be in great shape and they train hard and they're strong, but they can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And I feel like I felt like that was him for the past, several fights. It's like he just doesn't. He gets in position, but he never lets go. You know what I mean? And that could be a function of several things. I'm not sure what it is, but I think even if he was fighting a guy who he's bigger than, stronger than, and wasn't worried about getting knocked out, I think you probably would have seen a lot of the same, because I haven't seen him not fight like that in an awful long time. Last time I remember him not fighting like that, I think is probably when he fought Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
He's really never fought like that again to me, in my opinion.
Right, or maybe against Darren Till, who he ended up catching and submitting, although he was a little bit tentative there as well. But
yes,
yeah, I agree. And you know, one of the things that they say, which I know that you know, is what happens with a lot of fighters. What happens with a lot of fighters is the amount of time it takes for them to see an opening, for their mind to process it and send it to their impulse, you know, to their muscles to throw the punch. By the time that process happens, the guy's not even there anymore because the process has slowed enough. And I think that's part of it with him, but I also think he's just wanting to be more cautious than he should have been. And because I don't get a feeling that Jake Paul really hurt him, or that he was necessarily overly fearful of Jake Paul's power, but I also think he saw that Jake Paul was faster. A lot of people were saying Tyron was definitely going to be faster. Years ago, he would have been. I think that night he wasn't. He looked quick, but you know, I think just, you know, the fact that Jake Paul had confidence in his chin, was 15 years younger, and so his recovery ability was so much better, and the fact that, you know, that he really did kind of stick and move, and that was different than Jake Paul's other fights. I have a feeling Tyron might have thought that Paul was going to want to stand in the pocket the whole time, and I think if he had, Tyron might have actually been able to beat him by just the fact that Jake was going to put himself in the fire, you know, the whole time.
Yeah. Now, you see, what I don't like here is when you try and pretty much say the same thing as me, so we both are right. You know, I want to try and show my knowledge and make you look wrong, but you're saying the right thing, so it's not helping me.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So and I appreciate it. My question.
You're right on with what you're saying, though. I agree with you.
Thank you. So let me ask you this on the flip side. We're focusing on Tyron real quick here. As far as Jake Paul, basically he became kind of he was on his horse the whole time. He was running and sticking and moving, and I feel that was a really close fight. It was a split decision. I know that a majority of people were somehow say, "Oh no, Jake Paul 6 rounds to 2." I don't think it was. I think it was either 5 rounds to 3, or I could have even seen an argument for a draw. So go ahead.
Here's the thing too: if they counted that knockdown, because if the ropes stop you from going down, that they're supposed to count that as a knockdown.
Yes.
And so that could have even, you know, that could have threw it into Tyron Woodley's favor.
Right.
Like I said, it was very telling, because Jake Paul became the busy fighter, the guy who's trying to stick and move and not stay in there. That's not what you think of him. You know what I mean? You think he's a big athletic, he's a brute. He's going to go in there and try and take the guy out. But he was a guy who's obviously much bigger than, in all reality, and he fought like a smaller guy, in my opinion. So very telling. You could tell he tasted that power. It's like, I don't like this. This is, you know, I got to be very careful. He didn't want to get embarrassed at this point.
Right.
So he just fought a different style fight, I think, because he had to.
Yeah, and that was good that he showed that he could change things up and he could adjust. But based on that performance, I'd really like your opinion on how good Jake Paul is, because I'll tell you what, I'll share mine real quick. I feel if Jake Paul was all that in a bag of chips, he would have looked a lot better here against this tentative Tyron Woodley. Maybe I'm wrong. What's your assessment of how Jake Paul looks from this fight and where he stands as far as the future in boxing?
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a good athletic, he's a tough guy. He's, like I said, he's a state qualifying wrestler, I believe, in Ohio. That you're good. You're a tough guy if you can do that, you know, and he's big and athletic and he's got all the resources in the world. But I mean, to really think that he could go out there at that level and really perform any better than he had is kind of unrealistic, because, you know, the fight business, it takes time to develop in-ring time, and not just sparring in real fights. You know, that takes years to develop usually, you know, and round after round, and you get better each time you learn in there. He's jumping right in with some pretty tough guys, so he might be winning, but I don't think he has the ring savvy, or what we call the ring IQ.
Right.
So I don't think he has that yet, but he is being expected to try to perform And he's putting himself in that situation. I don't feel bad for him, but he's trying to act like he has that when he doesn't.
Yeah.
But people are expecting him to have that when he can't. So
Right.
it's an impossible situation to ask for. He's put himself in it. Eventually, I think if he keeps this up, he'll lose to somebody if he keeps biting off a little bit more than he can chew. But he's been very selective and been pretty smart about it so far.
Absolutely. So let me talk about this upcoming weekend's fight, and I'm curious to see, because maybe Jake against one of the winners of these fights could be interesting. So we're looking at 4 fighters that I know you're very familiar with. 3 of them, I wouldn't be surprised if you were on the same card as all 3 of them, and that would be Vitor Belfort, and Tito Ortiz and Anderson Silva. Did you fight in the same card as all 3 of those guys at some point?
Yeah, at some point I believe so.
Yeah, and then Evander Holyfield, obviously I'm sure you, when you were a kid, Evander Holyfield was just getting to the top. And
that's hard to say with anybody now. When I was a kid,
Yeah, I hear you. But I was a huge fan. I'm a bit older than you, so I was a little bit more than a kid, but not much more when Evander Holyfield was fighting. I was very young, and he's an amazing warrior. Let's talk about that fight first. First, let's back up. Oscar De La Hoya was supposed to fight against Vitor Belfort, and that was a really interesting fight because I think it was at a 190 catch weight. And you have Oscar De La Hoya, a 49-year-old former multiple world champion who hadn't fought for 15 years or something, and
13 years.
13 years, right? And then when he fought, he was I appreciate it. I'm gonna look at that in a second. When he fought, he was fighting between 140 and 160. Oscar De La Hoya, right? And then you have Vitor Belfort, who is 44 years old. He fought as recently as 3 years ago in MMA, and his career, he fought between 185 MMA middleweight and heavyweight. So the bigger man for sure in that matchup was Vitor. He was only 2 inches taller, but a substantially bigger and thicker man than Oscar.
Just carries the weight right. I was highly disappointed in this fight to begin with because a while back, people were telling me Oscar was interested in doing this, and I got a phone call from somebody who said, "Hey, man, they're throwing your name in the mix.
Oh,
would you be interested in fight Oscar?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" I mean, I had 50 pro boxing matches. I was all about it, and I kept trying to hit him back up. Let me know. And then I found out Vitor, and I get it. I'm sure he's been fighting a lot more recently, bigger name, but I was like, man. Not even the same weight class, and Vitor's never really done pro boxing. I didn't get it. That being said, Vitor is going to be way too big and strong and powerful for him. Because no testing, Vitor's a beast.
Right? Yes, yes.
I mean, I thought he was going to come in yoked to the game, but it's going to be huge. And I mean, I feel like I don't know if something's wrong with Oscar right now if he's not seeing things for what they are, but. And you don't want to go in there with Vitor Belfort. I mean, if he hits you, he's going to hurt you. Oscar's not at the point where he needs to be getting hurt right now. If you want to go in there and have a good, fun fight, whatever. But, I mean, going in there and trying against a guy who hits as hard as Vitor, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think it was going to be a tough fight for him. I think he's going to find out pretty quick. When you can fight at 140, 147, I mean, you have the bone structure of someone who can fight at 147.
Yeah.
Vitor's never getting down to 177.
No,
you know what I mean? So it's just different. He was going to fight a big, strong guy, and it was going to be a problem, I think, for him.
Yeah, and I felt that Oscar could have used his boxing skill and might have been slick enough to have won that fight, but it was a dangerous fight. It was a fight. It was definitely close. Vitor very well could have won that fight.
I think he could have done that a few years ago. He's 49, man. I mean, unless he just has some ungodly genetics and is gonna, he looked to me like the guy who's been out there really like living clean and taking care of himself and living the Spartan lifestyle and running and not putting any foreign substances in his body. I think he would have. I think he'd come out there. He'd look. Can you imagine Oscar at 190? He's not going to look good. He's going to be flat.
Without a doubt. So, he may have been walking around at that over the last few years, but not with a good body composition.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, could he have won? Possibly. I highly doubted it. I would have thought. I mean, 2-minute rounds help, but I would have thought he'd got tired. Vitor. It depends on what Vitor. Maybe I know if they want to come out there and just play around and get paid. Yeah, he could have.
But it was a serious fight. Sorry to interrupt you there. So, the commentator, I'm just learning, for the main event, Holyfield and Belfort, is going to be former President Donald Trump. I was just pointed out. This is going to be amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait to see that. But let me ask you. Yeah, so you definitely felt, as many people did, and I would agree, that Vitor was definitely a threat in that Oscar fight and possibly could have won. But the difference between Oscar De La Hoya and Evander Holyfield, I think, is huge. That would be like if I just challenged my producer to a fight, and then I said, instead of me, Chris Lytle will be fighting you. It's all of a sudden really bad situation.
Like that, but I mean, we got a guy who is a little bit older, but just you're taking away all of Vitor's assets. He's bigger, he's stronger. He's been there. I mean, I guess Oscar's been. I mean, Holyfield's, I don't care. That dude, to me, lives more of the Spartan lifestyle. He takes care of himself well. He's still, more relevant in my opinion. And I mean, what's Vitor going to do to him?
Right.
I mean, I guess he's faster, but I mean, Holyfield, he's still going to have all those skills. I don't see this going. I mean, this is a much worse fight for Vitor than Oscar.
Yes, I agree 100%. Not only now, Vitor is not 2 inches taller, he's 2 inches shorter. He's naturally the smaller man, and he's going up against a man in his own sport. You know what I think a lot of the young people are feeling, and you and I are both Generation X guys. I know I'm older than you, but I think a lot of people that are younger are looking at the age of 58 on Evander and saying, man, this guy's going to be like a decrepit old man who can't even move. And I think they're way off on that.
I think he'll be 88 and still tough to deal with.
Yes, I agree.
It's the kind of guy you're dealing with, you know what I mean? Like Bernard Hopkins. I mean, that guy fought for a long, and that dude, after a big fight, the next day Bernard's running 5 miles and eating clean, living right. It's like, if you're doing that, it's one thing, and if like Roberto Duran and those guys I was watching him, he's partying before a fight.
Right.
There's a difference how you live, and that stuff comes back on you eventually. And I think, Evander Holyfield is just not only genetically gifted, but I think he works hard. He does the right thing, and he has the skill. He has the ability. I think it's going to be a much tougher fight. But he's a beast. Always has been. Always will be.
Yeah, I agree. And if we look at Mike Tyson against Roy Jones, even though they were 5 and 7 years. Or they were they're 3 and 5 years younger than Evander, but it's still close, and they looked really, really good. And I agree with you. That's one thing I can tell as an older guy is that I really don't think at 58 Evander is going to be feeble and decrepit there. No, and that being the case, I really wonder what Vitor kind of is thinking. I guess he's thinking it's a payday and that he's going to do his best and that he can have a little bit of assistance with substances. But I have a feeling Holyfield's going to smash him if he wants to.
Well, here's what I think, though. To be honest with you, I guarantee you, Holyfield's taking this on kind of short notice. I guarantee they go, hey, man, our thing fell apart. Go in there. If you watch the Mike Tyson, Roy
Jones.
Wasn't trying to go in there, and he was trying to put on a good show, and he was trying to hit the body hard. He wasn't going to hit him in the head hard. I mean, it was basically a glorified sparring session for several $1 million. And I guarantee Holyfield's probably like, I could use a few $1 million. So I'll go out there and spar with this guy. Heck yeah, are you kidding me? Because, I mean, and if Vitor tries to put it on him, I think, Holyfield's just smart enough. Defense, he knows. So he can defend himself no matter what. He could tie him up, make a dirty fight. He could go hard if he wants, but I think they're both going to go out there and say, hey, let's just go out there and put on a good show for the people, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and the one thing that concerns me about that is that apparently, because remember, the Tyson-Roy Jones was an exhibition, and it was also an exhibition with the stipulation no knockouts, which is kind of the weirdest thing I've heard. But how do you do? But in this fight, what I'm hearing is that this is going to be a sanctioned fight, even though it's 2-minute rounds. which is very strange. I guess you can change the duration of the rounds in boxing. I think in MMA, if it was not going to be a 5-minute round, I don't think it would be an official fight at all. But apparently, even with 2-minute rounds, this is going to be an official fight, and they've got the odds very close. And so, could it still be a glorified sparring match? Or really, it still could be a glorified sparring match. But
I mean, you've seen legit boxing matches, on TV where basically that's what it was. I mean, there's nothing that says you got to try and knock the guy out as hard as you can every time. I mean, they're going to go out there. They might see if there's an opening there, but these are both older guys who are probably in it for, just the last hurrah. And I think, they're not going to go out there and put everything on the line if they don't have to.
Right.
And why would they? To me, in their head, this is a glorified sparring session.
Yeah, reminds me of an old boxing match, and I was a boxing historian for years before, when I was really young, when MMA was just starting, and then I dropped it for MMA. But I remember a match from 100 years ago with Jack Johnson, the first black boxing heavyweight champion. Yep. And he was supposed to be doing kind of a little exhibition with the middleweight champ Stanley Ketchel. And and Stanley Ketchel was a double tough dude. I think he was one of those dudes that, like, from age 14 was a hobo on trains trying to survive, right? Basically sleeping out in the freezing cold. And anyway, so apparently they had kind of an arrangement where they wouldn't go real hard, but Ketchel, the smaller man, I think decided, I got to see what I can do with this big man, and hit him and knocked him down. And Jack Johnson was so angry that he jumped from the ground up in the air while throwing an uppercut and knocked like 4 of Stanley Ketchel's teeth out. And you could see it because they were in his boxing glove.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I mean, like I said, you got to be careful what you ask for. I want to see what I'm made of. Well, you're made of 4 less teeth. That's what you're made of.
That's it, exactly. And so I guess it could be that if they arrange that, as long as Vitor doesn't pull a Stanley Ketchel on him, because if he did, then I could see Evander just absolutely, knocking him cold. But it'll be interesting. But how about the co-main event? These are 2 guys also that you were fighting, I'm sure, on the same card at some point with. First of all, between Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz, were you any more familiar personally on a friendly basis with one or the other?
Yeah, I know Tito better than Vanderlei.
Anderson,
every time I've met Vanderlei, he's been very nice to me and polite.
Anderson Silva, right?
Hadn't really spoke much English. He just kind of smiles and nods and bows and whatever. He's nice. Yeah. But I mean, I know I've hung out with Tito before.
Gotcha. And so Anderson Silva did look impressive in that fight in Mexico against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I mean, legit fighter, boxer right there, and he beat him in his own game. To me, that was extremely impressive. I don't think people were talking about that enough, how good Anderson Silva looked to be beating a guy like that. So
100%, I agree. Adam, my producer Adam, was there working with that project, and he definitely was a believer, and so am I. Anderson was great. We talked to him beforehand, and I did a great interview side by side with Anderson, and then the camera upload screwed up, and we couldn't use it. It was unfortunate because we talked about some interesting stuff. I had asked him about in the shoot-to box where he started, and he had great things to say about Coach Rafael Cordero being one of the best coaches out there. He didn't seem to feel so good about the guy that created it all, Hujamar Federico, but he didn't elaborate on that. But but in this matchup, I ask you, what Tito Ortiz is a little bit of a he's the bigger man. I shouldn't say a little bit. He's the bigger man. Yeah. He's height-wise, they're about the same at about 6'2", but Tito always, pretty much dehydrated like crazy to make 205. And Anderson primarily fought at 185 with a couple of forays into the 205 limit. So I have a feeling Anderson's probably walking around just over 200 pounds maybe, and Tito is walking around nowadays probably at like 240. I bet
Anderson's closer to 215, 220.
Okay. Maybe. So what is Tito gonna do in there? He's got that big head. He's got that Chris Lieben head, and I know Chris Lieben.
To defend.
Yeah. So, but what's?
I don't know. To be honest with you, he's never. I mean, he's been doing this forever, but he's never really struck me as a guy who's really ultra confident on his feet and feels comfortable there, I should say.
Yeah.
I know he feels comfortable enough to do MMA work to get what he needs to get, but when it's just two hands and that's it, Anderson's going to be so relaxed out there. I think you're going to see a big, tight two-door team is going to be very defensive and try not to get hit a lot. If he gets offensive, I can see him trying to clasp a lot, grab on the inside. I don't see him loosen. I mean, every time I think he's going to try and throw a punch, I think Anderson's going to be there to counter.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tito, I don't even know what his game plan is going to be. I mean, you try and go in there and push Anderson around and rough him up. It's really your only game plan because you're not going to outstrike him. You're not going to just, out-jab him. What are you going to really do to him? Are you going to catch him with something he's not ready for? No, I mean, you could bum rush him and push him around for a while. But that's all you can really do, and that doesn't really work well with Anderson. You know what I mean? He's going to be so relaxed and so confident. I just don't see what Tito's really going to do. I think that's going to be, of all the fights we're talking about, there's going to be, I think, the most one-sided.
Yeah, I think so too. The odds makers have it about 10-1 favorite for Anderson Silva. You know what I wonder? The more these fights go on with MMA fighters that don't have much of a boxing background and they're in the squared circle, do you think at some point, everyone talks about it, we haven't seen it so far, do you think at some point we're going to see an MMA fighter say, hell with it, I'm grabbing this guy and I'm slamming him, or I'm going to take him down and elevate him? I don't,
and it's like, people always ask me that, like when I was doing stuff, did you just want to take him down? Did you want to kick him in the box? And like, no, I mean, it's like if you're, you ever see like a professional basketball player and a baseball player, or whatever, like people play multiple sports, they don't confuse them. You don't go try and, I mean, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? Right. Only way that can happen if somebody got rocked and their head went in there. But I don't even see that happen there. When you've been doing this sport, though, as long as these people have, you practice and you train at these different disciplines. It's just you flip a switch like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If they're doing that, I don't think they're very high level. So I think any high level guy, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it makes sense. Although otherwise, I could just see Tito getting completely annihilated. Like, but the question is, Anderson is a good boxer now, and he was impressive. But I don't know. Like, remember what he did to Forrest Griffin, and and some other guys where he was just so much faster than them. He could almost make a fool of them. Is he that fast anymore, or is it or with the skills that he has, could he just totally make a fool of Tito?
I think he could. I don't think it's about how fast he is right now, because speed is one of the first thing that goes. Yeah. I think what it is his eyes and his knowledge. He knows where things are going to be. He anticipates well, and I think he's going to. I think like I said, it's different if you're going with a dynamic striker, a guy who can throw from all angles, do whatever. Tito's not that guy. No. So I mean, he's going to see, and Tito's not the fastest guy when it comes to punches. So he's going to see. Anderson's going to be able to put his hands down when he wants, move around, wait for Tito to throw a punch, and move his out of the way and counter. If he wants to do that, I think he has that ability.
Makes sense. And obviously, you don't expect Tito's going to be pulling out any MMA technique like a takedown or a throw or a sweep or anything. However, people are saying that it's in the contract with these fights that if anyone breaks the rules, they're not getting paid. Do you know that for a fact? Can that even be done?
I don't think that could be 100%. I mean, I don't think they could pull it. I'm sure they could fine them or something. I've heard that as well, but I don't know if I believe that. I think that's just a talking point that people like to say. But I mean, maybe there is something they could get fined if they do it. I don't see how you could hold their full pay if they do that.
Right, because it almost seems like if Tito's getting embarrassed enough, he may just figure if I could just do one foot sweep or something where I can hurt Anderson's leg, maybe the one that he broke against Chris Weidman or something. And
we've seen Tito getting hit a lot by Chuck, and he just kind of went to the ground. I think he was taking too many punches. He'll take a knee. I just don't see him just saying, I'm gonna take this guy down. I'm gonna throw a leg kick. I'm gonna get a take. I don't see it happening, man. I mean, gotcha. I know a lot of people think might happen. I just don't see it.
Understood. And then if we quickly jump into the winners that we expect, well, you know what? I know we're expecting Anderson Silva to win. I think, and we're both expecting Evander Holyfield to win, although Vitor could give him somewhat of a tough fight. But if I know if Vitor and Anderson both won, there'd be no problem in making that fight because they've fought each other before, and people have wanted them to see the fight again. But if Evander Holyfield wins at 58 years old against Vitor, A, do you think he would agree to a match with Anderson Silva? And B, what would that fight look like, and would Anderson accept that fight?
You know, I don't know. To me, this isn't about that. This isn't about who's gonna. It's not like they're trying for titles. This is purely prize fighting. You know, this is what this is, and this is what it's turned into. And it's just about. It's not about who's getting ranked higher and you have to win this fight. That's not a tournament. This is just about, you know, in my opinion, whoever they think can make the most money, generate the most revenue. And I don't know if Evander Holyfield versus Anderson Silva is a needle mover. I mean, I think they'll look into it, and if they think it makes sense, they'll do it. But I could probably think of, 10 other fighters they could probably put Anderson Silva in with that would make more sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't see that being the way they're trying to set this up. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think they're just trying to it's a every time it's a money grab, and whoever they think they can make the most money, they're going to try and do.
Right.
And I don't see them trying to build that up. Now, if Holyfield looks phenomenal, everyone's like, oh my God, I want to see him fight again, then they will do it. But at this point, I don't think they're just trying to set up tournament style things. If this guy wins, we're going to match this guy up. No. I think it's every time they're going to bring in new guys, whoever they think they can sell. I'm just waiting for Oscar to get better and for me to get that call. So if you guys can make that happen, you let me know.
We'll do everything we can. I'll talk to Adam and he'll put it in people's head. Maybe we can, man. That'd be awesome.
I'd love that, dude. I'd love it. Like I said, I've had 15 pro boxing matches, never got knocked out or anything, and I think I'd love to fight the Oscar I see now.
That would be amazing because you're what, like 3 years younger than him, 5 years younger than him, something like that.
Well, I just turned 47, but man, I work out all the time, and I'm not I'm taking really good care of myself.
Yeah, without a doubt. No, I know you are. That would be amazing. What would be the weight limit if you could choose it for a fight with Oscar?
175.
175, and I think he'd be happy with that, probably, huh?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Him getting up to 190 is not going to be good for him, cardio-wise, body, any of that stuff. So that's when when they were talking to me about it, they said something about being about the same weight, probably about 175. I was like, perfect. I'll do that all day long, man. I could make that in a week if I had to. You know what I mean? And I just think that'd be a fun one. I've always wanted to. I loved watching him fight, man. And I just love to get in there with a legend like that, man. That'd be great.
Absolutely, it'd be awesome. Question for you: if Jake Paul were to be mulling over the guys on this Saturday's card, probably the easiest fight for him would probably be against Tito. But how do you think Jake Paul would fare? And if I'm wrong against Tito, let me know. How do you think he would fare against the other three? Vitor, Anderson, Holyfield, or Oscar, let's say.
I mean, I think I'd like to see him fight Anderson. I think Anderson would be too slick for him.
Yeah.
Too good, and I think that'd be good. Vitor, I think you take away a lot of what Jake. I mean, a lot of this might change based on how I see how these guys look, but I think Vitor is a very good striker. I think Vitor does very well against him. But once again, you're taking away, Jake Paul's number one thing. He's big, strong, so's Vitor. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of gets rid of that. Once again, Oscar, I have to see. I mean, we haven't seen the guy fight since 2008. I don't know. I want to see how he looks if he fights. And I think it'd be a really tough fight for him because the guy's just big, man. I'm telling you, those Jake and Logan, they're big guys, man. They might be getting to 190, but it's not like they're walking in a 190.
No.
I guarantee they're heavier than that, And you're looking at pretty big. Just like look at their wrists compared to Oscar. That's going to be night and day. Just their frame handles 200 plus pounds. Oscar doesn't. So I'd have to see him fight. I think it'd be a very tough fight for him.
Absolutely. And then I think Evander Holyfield would beat Jake Paul in about 8 seconds.
Well, I don't think he beat him in 8 seconds, but I think here'd be my only problem. I think he beats him as well. The only problem could be, once again, if we get Holyfield out there and he's interested, I'm going to go out here and spar, and I'm not trying to take these guys' heads off. You could get in another situation like Woodley, where he just out moving around too much and try and throw some jabs, and Evander might not care. Like, he might not try to take him out, but if he wanted to, I think he really could. Easily, you know what I mean? He's bigger, stronger, way more experienced. But once again, we might have a guy who's just going out there with a different mentality. Like, I'm not here to kill people. I'm just here to get some work in. I don't know. I'll tell you after I see this fight.
Absolutely. Would you want to see a Tyson Holyfield 3? And if so, who do you think wins it?
Well, here's the thing. And once again, I don't personally believe that Tyson really wants to go in there and fight.
Right.
You know, I think they want to go in there and say, hey, here's what I think happened. I know at one point, you know, I'm doing the bare knuckle commentary, and they offered him a substantial amount of money to come do a bare knuckle fight. And I think he probably thought about it, and he's like, you know what? I can go out here and spar my friend Roy and make a lot of money and not really risk anything. You know what I mean? I think they probably are smart enough to think, man, I mean, do I have head damage done? Do I have problems? Do I want to go out there and do that for what, when I can go out here and do this and get paid a lot and not really have any risk? That's my thought. So I don't think they want to go out there and take each other out. They might go out there and dance around and spar, but I mean, I can't even really predict who would win that, because I don't think it's a real fight, you know. And just like the whole time Roy and Mike were going to fight, I kept telling people, this is not going to, nobody's getting knocked out here, I promise. I mean, this is not a fight. This is a sparring match. And, you know, I think they made it look really good, but when you're just hitting hard to the body, you can take those all day, and you're not trying to hit hard to the head. That's what I think happened. So, I mean, we're throwing these hypothetical things out there that I think are impossibilities to happen. Yeah,
you could be right. Let us know what's up with the BKFC. When's the next big event? You do an amazing job there.
This weekend, brother. This weekend, we're moving to Omaha, Nebraska, BKFC 21. I'm really excited about that. And then I believe we just got tons of new places coming up, a lot of different states. People are finally starting to understand the fact that this is as safe as anything, definitely safer than boxing, probably safer than MMA too. I mean, you're not taking the pounding to the head like you do with other ones. You can't do that because you'll get cut open. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's really safe. So, I mean, states are opening up. I'm really enjoying it.
Absolutely.
But, we got one in Omaha, Nebraska this weekend. BKFC 21. If you're on the Bare Knuckle TV app, I don't know what's wrong with you, because that's the cheapest thing you're going to find in combative sports. It's cheap, and there's tons of good stuff on it every month.
It's an amazing deal. The main event on that is
Richmond versus Dakota Cochran.
Nice. Dakota Cochran, such a tough guy, and he's from Nebraska, so that's right there in his backyard. There are going to be a ton of people cheering for him.
Oh yeah, he's a really tough guy. Richmond came in with his last fight and knocked out Marcel Stamps. But, you know, this looked fantastic, man.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it. You do a great job there. It's an amazing team, and David Feldman puts on a great show, and always amazing to see you call it. Chris Lytle, you know, I can't wait to watch the BKFC 21. You guys tune in, an amazing deal. And Chris, really appreciate your time and fleshing this out, man, because not only do a lot of people get an idea, you know, what's really going on, but even for me to have a more clear idea, because you've been in the game so long and you know boxing and MMA and all of these guys, man. So really appreciate your insight. It means a lot.
No problem. Let me know anytime.
Appreciate it, brother. You have a great night.
Thanks.
And that was Chris Lights Out Lytle. Dr. Adam Roorda had some good ideas there, didn't he?
Of course.
And I bet you may not have known that they talked to him briefly about an Oscar fight.
Well, I mean, I would love to see what I can do to make that happen.
That would be fantastic. And that would be, I think that would be a more fair fight for Oscar, because against a Vitor Belfort, who is not being 100% checked for substances, I know you said he said he's 100% clean, but a big man like Vitor Belfort against a 49-year-old Oscar De La Hoya is some danger. Not that Chris Lytle wouldn't put him in danger, but they're more similar-sized guys.
I think that would be more exciting. It would make more sense. I was excited to see what would happen. I mean, honestly, I have to be completely transparent here about Triller and what they're doing. It's brilliant because it's just a massive circus.
Yes. Yes, it is. Free ring circus.
I can't say I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have faith that somebody like Jake Paul, if he takes his career seriously and he develops himself appropriately, eventually he could be a top 15 contender. I think he can work himself. He's not there yet.
Right.
He could step in right now.
No.
And I've been saying this since the beginning of our conversations.
Yeah.
I see he has the natural talent to be able to pick it up fast enough to get there, where now he can really focus on working out the specific fights to build himself up, just like any other boxer does.
Yeah.
Really, we have to be real about it. That's the way it's done in 2021.
Yeah, and he's got the resources to get the best training, and
the best training. He does already have some of the best training, and beyond that though, I mean, just everything that's going on with these Triller boxing events, and now Showtime's jumping. Everybody's jumping on that bandwagon, and it's for a reason. People can't look away.
That's it.
And now we've got Donald Trump commentating and hosting a boxing event.
Amazing. Love that. Love that.
Are we going back to WWE?
It sounds like it.
Affliction days.
It's going to be a trill. It's going to be a triller, and it's going to be very trilling to watch.
I mean, what year are we in?
I know, it's like a throwback. Donald Trump jumping in like WWE. It's going to be great. Though.
Didn't he commentate or host
I believe
Affliction a time or two?
He was one of the guys that were producing it and funding it.
I think he he was a desk commentator.
He might have jumped in possibly for a fight or two. I was at both of those Affliction events and had a ticket for the third one, which never happened. But yeah, he was definitely a part of the team. It was Donald Trump, Oscar De La Hoya, Mark Cuban, and then the guys at Affliction, the front man there being Tom Atencio.
And what's going on? People. This is an Oscar promotion.
That's maybe why Oscar and Donald maybe have been friends for years.
I wonder if Mark Cuban's going to jump in.
It's very possible.
It could be crazy. All of a sudden, Mark Cuban shows up.
That would be amazing. Donald Trump on the play-by-play, Mark Cuban doing color. That would be.
Man. Well,
or vice versa, even probably vice versa. Donald Trump would be doing color.
And those two don't necessarily get along anymore, from what I hear. But Mark Cuban and Donald Trump, if they're all of a sudden showing up, I got my logo on.
Love it.
Vitor shorts. I can't even imagine what's going to happen. Our lives could change, Colin.
Hey, that'd be awesome.
So, did Matthew ever get back to you?
No, he didn't. But you want to try and see if he picks up?
Yeah, let's see give if he picks Matthew a roll.
Let's give him a shot there.
Yeah.
Going to be a triller when Ali fights Foreman in Manila.
Oh. Since we don't have any Skype dance going because he's not online, there he is. It's ringing.
Let's try it.
Skype dance. And when you're done, follow us on social media. It's at MMA Power Hour. Boom, boom, boom. I don't think we're gonna get him.
It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look very promising. Let's Vogue with Madonna. What the hell is that? Do the Macarena. Oh, that was it, yeah.
I don't think we're getting them.
No. Oh, man, this is tough because he was all set to do last week, and his Skype situation wasn't working out.
You know what? It's showing he's online now.
It is?
So, yeah, we'll see.
Do you want to send him? Yeah, send him a brief message, and I'll talk while you're doing that. So, while Dr. Adam Roorda is talking, there is not going to be a UFC this weekend, but there will be one the following weekend. Some Bellators, I think, coming up. I think PFL season is on hold until the finals, I think, which is next month. But there's going to be some really good fights all around, and we're hoping here to get Matthew Semelsberger, Semi the Jedi. Last week we had him scheduled, and he had to download Skype, and he was just, I think, somewhere where the Wi-Fi was really bad. Yeah, it showed his signal was too weak, and we would call him, and he would try to pick up, and it would just pick up and disconnect. So he did guarantee us that he would be on today, starting 5 minutes ago, and hopefully he will see us. And it is what it is. I mean, the bottom line is it's always unfortunate if someone makes a commitment and can't make it, but we're the last people that are going to try to throw anyone under the bus. We have all respect for these fighters and what they do, and and
Hey, life is life. We've got to adjust and go with the flow as much as possible.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna bring it up again. When I got the announcement about Oscar, I was one of the first 3 people to hear. I actually heard before TMZ ever did. I had a hard time not releasing that information, but yeah, when I found out Oscar caught COVID, it was like, oh no.
Yeah, that was a big bummer. I know Chris Lytle was expressing the disappointment because that was going to be really interesting because
that was going to be so interesting.
It was a good fight. I like how, or I'm interested.
That was less of a circus, I guess. It was more of a really what. I mean, they're both in the same age range at that point. And you're not going... To me, it's a little bit more of a circus with Holyfield in there.
Yeah. I thought the Belfort and Oscar fight was a pretty good matchup. I had kind of the opposite thought as Chris Lytle in that one. Maybe not the opposite, but I felt that just the skill level of the smaller man, Oscar fighting in his sport, would have made the difference, and he probably would have been really hard for Vitor to hit, and he probably could have just kept piecing him up and touching him. But Chris Lytle is more hands-on boxing and MMA experience than me, for sure.
And me,
and Adam. So I defer to his thoughts. Not defer, but I acknowledge his thoughts that the size difference could have meant something, because even though Oscar De La Hoya, in the beginning of his career was making 140 without too much of a struggle. That's when he was like 21 years old. And by the end of his career, I think he was having to cut a little bit to make 160. Even that being the case, and then as he got older, he got thicker. Chris pointed out that fact that the man did fight between 140 and 160. And that means even as he's, 15 years away from his career, or 13 years, he's not going to be that much of an enormously bigger guy than that, maybe a little bit, and Vitor is way bigger than that. And so that would have been interesting. But Evander Holyfield now against Vitor, I mean, it's interesting because I think I asked a friend, which fight could be more lopsided if the guys were really going out to kill, to finish the other guy, the Tito versus Anderson, or the Holyfield versus Vitor. And I think my friend said that, Vitor might muster up something, even if Holyfield was going out there to smash him, which he might be. But what the hell can Tito do to stop Anderson from just completely twisting him into a pretzel, and just kind of like, doing to him what he did to Forrest Griffin in an MMA ring years ago. But we'll see. I guess that's why they're fighting, because we don't know the answer.
I have to throw this out there. So I did go ahead and say Chris Lytle said he would box Oscar if asked. I'm not going to say to which person, but somebody very closely tied to Triller and Ryan Kavanaugh.
Cool.
And I'm throwing out Easter eggs, but somebody there just said, yeah, he needs to get in line. In other words, there's a lot of people already offering this up, and it's a matter of...
Right. Well, they talked to him first. They should remember that they talked to him first, but it is what it is. Anyway.
Well, as soon as the news came out, though, it kind of starts changing the game up, right?
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, they've brought all this attention to everything that's been going on, and who's going to get that next fight, right?
That's true. People want him. People want the golden boy. That's why he was the golden boy. It's interesting because, as mentioned, I'm going to be doing a reaction video live during the fight card, and with Tank and Tito having so much history together, is there such a, I guess I know the answer to this, but I guess there's such a thing as someone calling out a loser of a fight. I guess it doesn't happen that much, Adam, but I think on occasion I've seen it. So it'd be interesting if Tito gets just completely bobbleheaded in that fight and loses like every round or gets knocked out, that maybe my co-commentator on the reaction video, Tank Abbott, could call out the loser, Tito Ortiz. The only difference is Tank.
What you should do is, if I'm there and you guys see me, you should let Tank know beforehand. He needs to call me out. I want that scrappy, skinny little guy, and I'll accept it, okay? If you send me a text message, and I can write it on poster board or something.
Oh, yeah, because Tank is 55 years old now, and he has had numerous surgeries, I think. but still a tough guy. But I think he used to walk around close to 300. Now it looks like he may be 220 or 230, but still a double tough guy. I look forward to doing the commentary with him. He was the original Huntington Beach bad boy, and then Tito Ortiz became the Huntington Beach bad boy, and they trained together for a few years. I remember a couple years after Tito had left training with Tank, some reporter asked him what he would say he learned from training with Tank Abbott, and he said pretty much just to go out there and try to beat the fuck out of somebody. Sorry for the run.
Well, it's all right where we're at. We're okay right now, Colin.
For the time being, right? Well, but that's what it was, and I don't know that situation made Tank mad, but just various different things. But it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be a Triller when we see Triller and fight, or just Triller on fight with these great matchups. So, anywhere back from Matthew Semelsberger? It sounds like no, huh?
Nope, nothing back. And I told him just to call us. I see it's green, but
yeah,
we can try him one more time if you want to.
Why don't we do that one more time?
Okay,
I appreciate that. Let's do it one more time.
I would say let's go ahead and break down this weekend's fight.
We'll do that.
We just we just did, and UFC doesn't have anything. So.
No, they don't. So we probably would be okay of jumping if we can't get.
Yeah, let's try him though.
Let's do it.
Skype.
We're trying it now on Skype. Okay.
Skype dance.
Skype dance, baby.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm the worst dancer on the planet, by the way.
That might be second worst. My dancing always looks like boxing. I used to have a girlfriend who would say, every time you're dancing, it looks like you're punching or kicking.
Like, that's because I am. That's how I dance.
Me too, yep. That's what I do.
I do the slowed up speed bag.
I like it. There we go.
All right.
Yep, that's it.
That's enough with that Skype dance.
Yes, that was enough.
You know what, boys and girls, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for tuning in to another amazing episode. We tried to get Matthew in here. Unfortunately, things didn't work out. But Chris Lytle hopped in and gave us some amazing insights to what he thinks is going on in the boxing world, especially with these celebrity influencer fights and the upcoming boxing matches on Triller.
Yes, and I like that he backtracked and gave us his thoughts on the Paul and
I have to ask though, how do you really feel about like Donald Trump involving himself in a boxing event now?
Me personally?
Yeah.
That reminds me of a lot of Howard Stern show with Beetlejuice, right? They'd ask him something and he'd say, "Who, me?" And he'd go, "Yeah, you, Beetle." And he'd go, "So who, me?" But anyway, I always loved that. He was a brilliant guy, that little guy, Beetlejuice. So
even if it wasn't him, like any president getting involved with an event like this and actually commentating and hosting the event, how do you feel about that in general?
Well, not an active president, because I don't think an active president would do it. Trump was always a big sports fan and combat sports fan and pro wrestling fan. I think that had he done it during his administration, it would have been a little bit questionable as far as whether it's appropriate or not. But then I think one of the things with Trump is he was a real guy. He was like, he just wasn't trying to be a phony bullshit guy. So now that he's not the president, but he could again be one day, I don't think it's a problem. And not only that, but I honestly think, like with most of our politicians, we have no idea about them. We have no idea who they are or what they do behind the scenes, and they don't want anyone to know. It seems like a lot of our politicians are very happy to have people have no idea who they are or what they like to do or about their personal life. Donald Trump was always like, hey, you guys know what I like to do. I like to hang out and party. I like to go out to sporting events. I like to hang out with beautiful women. I like to hang out at my hotels. I like to do this stuff, which is pretty much what a lot of guys like to do. Most guys like to do. Right. And so I think it's consistent, and I think it's good. I don't think it's bad, and I think I
don't think it's bad either. He was celebrity personality going into it beforehand, and stepping out of it. Not just The Apprentice, but Affliction, trying to have his own combat sports.
Yeah, you're right. He was a known businessman, entrepreneur, celebrity.
Yeah. So for him to step in here, it's going to be interesting to see if he gets political, though. You know what? Being involved with Lith Token and having it on the shorts of a fighter, I have some conflicting emotions myself right now. I'm not going to pull out because I'm not sponsoring Triller.
Right.
But conflicting emotions, not necessarily because of political beliefs. I'm going to throw out there, I'm not going to discuss my political beliefs too much here. But you know, it's just conflicting as far as whether a past sitting president should really be in entertainment anymore. I don't know how I feel about that. That's what I'm saying. I'm having conflicting emotions thinking about that.
Understood. Yeah, and I respect that. I think it's fine. And not only that, I think that
right demographic, at least.
Yeah, correct. And not only that, I don't think he's going to start trying to be campaigning for 2024 on that night. I you know, because I don't think that.
Well, he's already been campaigning.
Yeah,
though.
but I don't think he's going to use that appearance and that airtime to be trying to tell people he might. I mean, you know, either way, I think people know that that no one is necessarily endorsing or sponsoring him, or they could even put that as a disclaimer on the Triller broadcast. I don't know, but I
mean, it's just an interesting thought.
Yeah,
Just you know, politics and bringing that into the sport. You know, I know Dana White does it a little bit, but not much, really. I think he walks that delicate line well enough.
Yeah.
I think for us, though, you know, like me, being there and involved, it's a little different. You know, people have expectations. Now there's going to be pressure put on my company, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's just, yeah. Is that making more sense?
It does, but you know, I used to have a friend who I used to say things like that to when I was kind of torn and say I don't know how to feel about it, and you know what he would say? He would say, "Well, feel good about it."
Well, I mean, that's my choice, right?
There you go, right? Because there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well feel good about it. Yeah.
Just so everybody that knows, it's just here right now. That wasn't. It's lithtoken.io. That's where you go to check it out. It is a cryptocurrency. We're building out the utility on it now. We are looking for people to adopt early for the purpose of being first users on our platform, and clearly if you get in now, it's going to be more affordable than if you wait. So that's
right.
A big thing on that. I am actually being that I'm public facing, perfect to be able to say this, I am actually in charge of hiring developers and making sure utility gets built out on this, and I am a holder. So whatever you guys want to look at, it is not a security, but just do your own research. I'm going to say that.
And the reason why it says IO is because in all other coins you end up owing when you've lost your money, but on Lithcoin you won't end up IO-ing. They'll owe you, right? So
I can't say, and I'm not going to sit here and make any promises. I'm just going to say it is a cryptocurrency, but we are building the utility out for it over the next few months. Should have our platforms launched and having a lot of fun with that.
Absolutely. Well, the crypto is a happening thing, and it's going to be around for a long time.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think
aside from cryptocurrency, we have an amazing website. It is MMApowerhour.com. Make sure to sign up for that mail list. It is not completely built out as a website, but we built the foundation. We're going to be expanding that, and most likely any Lith support will help make that happen
Absolutely.
faster.
And I'm trying to build out my body here. I tried to get in great shape by the summer, but different things came up, and so that's what I'm working on being built out. Adam, is this great physique that I'm going to have here before the end of the year.
Well, you'll really get that by running around to your friends' houses and making sure you get them all to sign up for MMA Power Hour.
That's right.
MMA Power Hour.
That's
so
it.
Colin, thank you for another amazing episode. Bummed that we couldn't have Matthew on tonight as well, but 7-11, perfect time. I'm tapping out.
That's it. Thank you so much for all you do, Dr. Adam Roorda. Really appreciate you. Hopefully we will have Matthew Semelsberger somewhere down the line. He seems like a really great guy. Something must have come up, because prior to today and yesterday, he was very excited to be on the show, and a very respectful dude, and no problem, nothing, no hard feelings. But hopefully we can have Matt on. We're going to have some great people on the following week. We'll let you know on social media. Lithcoin, look for it. It's going to be great stuff. Dr. Adam Roorda is involved. Look for the reaction video on the Hannibal TV channel on YouTube. Myself and Tank Abbott, with an appearance, or a few appearances possibly, by Devin Hannibal Nicholson himself. That's about it. Go out there and spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Let people that you haven't talked to for a while know that even though you haven't really been there, you do have their back and you love them. Make sure in this hot summer your animals, dogs and cats, have a cool place and fresh water and fresh food. And that's about it. Big love and respect to all of you for the MMA Power Hour team. I am Colin Crandall, and for tonight I am tapping out.